Guys, this is an interesting one. Let's start with the most difficult part. However and although. A lot of students use them interchangeably, but we can't actually do that. So, what is the difference between however and although? Guys, the most important difference between them is that however connects two different sentences. Although connects two parts of the same sentence. Both of them express contrast, but with however, we have one sentence that basically says yes. Then we have however, comma, no, right? With although, or a shorter version of it, though, we have although yes, no, in one sentence. Or yes, although no. Let's have a look at actual sentences to understand this better. I like studying. However, I hate studying math. Or, although I like studying, I hate studying math. Do you see the difference? So guys, in the first example, we have one full sentence, I like studying, period, right? Then our next sentence starts with however and a comma, right? So this however connects this sentence to the previous one. It connects two sentences, right? We have I like studying, that's our yes, yeah? And then we have however, no. However, I hate studying math, right? That's how however works. It connects two sentences, right? Two separate ones. With although, it's different, right? We said although yes, no. Here it's the same, right? Although I like studying, I hate studying math. Although yes, no. Right? It connects two parts of the same sentence, right? It's still contrast, but we have one sentence, okay? We can't use although and however interchangeably here, right? Although can't stand there before the comma, right? And however can't stand here without a comma. And that actually brings us to another difference between them. We always have a comma after however, if it is at the beginning of a sentence. But we never have commas after although. Guys, please remember this. This will really help you in 30 through 36. Okay, one more example here. My friends always invite me to their parties. Period. However, I almost never go. Again, right? Two sentences that are connected by however and a comma. And another example with although. Although my friends always invite me to their parties, I almost never go. Right? The intonation is different here, and well, the whole idea, right? It's one sentence. Although connects just the two parts. Guys, I hope you got the difference between these two. Okay, they are really popular in 30 through 36. Almost every task has them. Another tricky pair of connecting words is despite and in spite of. You can use both of them the same way, but please notice the actual phrases. It is always despite something and in spite of something, right? Despite of is not correct. Okay, despite or in spite of. We can use a noun or a verb with an ing after despite or in spite of. For example, I like my job despite the long hours. Or I like my job in spite of the long hours. Here, after despite and in spite of, we have a noun, right? Let's have a look at another example with ing, right? I like my job despite working long hours. In spite of can also be used here. If we have a clause after these two, we need the fact that. We already know this little phrase from due to and owing to, right? These are the same. If we need to use a clause after them, we use the fact that. For example, I like my job despite the fact that I have to work long hours. Or, I like my job in spite of the fact that I work long hours. Okay, one more pair. Nonetheless and nevertheless. Very long words, right? Okay, let's hear them again. Nonetheless, nevertheless. Guys, the words are long, but they are very easy to use. We usually put them at the beginning of sentences. For example, we have a lot of problems in our city. Nonetheless, or nevertheless, this is my favorite city in the world. After both of these words, we need a comma. And, well, they both express contrast, right? There are a lot of problems, but it's my favorite city, yeah? Okay, another pair of words we can use to express contrast are while and whereas. You know while from studying past continuous because it can show that two actions were happening at the same time, right? But it has another meaning. In this meaning, it can express contrast, just like although. For example, while I know the city isn't perfect, I still love it. See? Contrast. I know it's not perfect, I love it, right? And while works as although, right? Now, whereas is used a bit differently. Let's see. I work 14 hours a day, whereas my sister does nothing all day. Or, cheese is tasty, whereas cottage cheese is awful, right? With whereas, we always have two clauses, and we always compare to things or ideas or people. So guys, the formula is this is good, whereas this is not as good. That is cool, whereas this is lame, and so on, right? And the pronunciation, guys, it's not whereas, right? It's whereas. Whereas, yeah? Okay, yet. Yet can also be used to express contrast with a shade of surprise. For example, this house is small yet cozy. Please note that after yet, here we just have one word, and it's an adjective. So that's interesting, right? Another example. She says Tom is her friend, yet she doesn't really trust him. Again, something surprising, right? And contrast. Tom is her friend, she doesn't trust him. That's contrasting and surprising, right? That's yet for you. Okay, one more, guys. Unlike. It's very easy to use. We just add a noun after it to compare and contrast things or people. That's it. For example, I work hard, unlike my sister. It means that I work hard, but my sister doesn't work hard, right? We said that just with one word, unlike my sister, that's it. Another one, cheese is delicious, unlike cottage cheese. Again, cheese is delicious, but cottage cheese isn't delicious. To say that shorter, right, in a shorter way, we just say it's delicious, unlike that. You know? The last one, guys, I promise. Otherwise. This word doesn't really express contrast directly like all the previous ones, but rather means or else. Do something or else you will regret it, right? For example, go to the police and tell them what you've done. Otherwise, I'll do it myself. Or I'll do it myself, right? And you will regret it. I always feel like there is some kind of a threat, yeah, in otherwise, even if it's not like context with the police, you know. So be careful with it. Means or else, yeah, that's it. All right, guys, that's a lot of information for you, I know. Let's have a look at a task from 30 to 36 so that you understand why you need all of this. okay? Again, we're just taking a couple of sentences out of the whole text. Here we go. Dottie called her friend's mother, Miranda, who was really pleased to hear her voice when she picked up the phone. Your gap? Miranda was surprised to find out that Dottie wanted to talk to her, not her daughter. And there are options for 31, right? Although, however, despite, or while. What do you think? Take a second here, guys. In this case, we need however. Why? Guys, the gap is at the beginning of a sentence. There is a comma after the gap. However is just the only option here that we can put into that position. Moreover, it separates two sentences. It follows our pattern, right? First sentence, yes. However, second sentence, no, right? Let's take one more, guys. In fact, the people I met were everything I tried to be. Kind, considerate, creative, down to earth, passionate, warm, and friendly. Your gap? I traveled on my own. I was never alone. All the people I met became my friends. And the options here are however, in spite of, although, and whereas. Again, please think about it. Okay, guys, here we need although. Why? Well, because it connects two parts of the same sentence, right? And those parts are in contrast. Because there is no comma after the gap. That is also important, right? And, well, because we can't use in spite of with a clause without the little phrase, the fact that, right? Although I traveled on my own, I was never alone. That's cool. Although yes, no, right? It follows our pattern. Alright guys, I hope you understand now how important all these words and phrases are. Let's sum them up, please. However, with a comma to connect two contrasting sentences. Although or though, without a comma to connect two contrasting parts of the same sentence. Despite plus noun or verb ing, or despite the fact that plus a clause, and in spite of plus noun or verb ing, or in spite of the fact that plus a clause. Nonetheless and nevertheless, plus a comma to connect two contrasting ideas. While, as the synonym of although, again, two contrasting parts in one sentence, right? Whereas, to contrast and compare, used between two clauses. Yet, to introduce a contrasting idea with a shade of surprise. Can be used with different parts of speech and with clauses. And unlike, used with a noun to compare and contrast. There was also otherwise, yeah? Which meant or else, with a hint of threat. Guys, that's it from me for now. Practice is very important here, so please do the exercises under the video and we'll move on to our last part for today, addition and examples.